This was the stomach-churning, cringe-worthy moment last week when Matt Hancock had the crushing realisation of something we have all known for the past year. His frontline political career is over. In fact, it's as dead as the poor souls in care homes COVID patients were discharged to, causing the first wave of unnecessary fatalities in the pandemic. So here he is, standing like an excitable schoolboy outside Tory Party HQ, waiting for his old pal Rishi Sunak to warmly greet him, before apparently offering him some return to the cabinet. But Hancock instead left visibly crushed after being purposefully snubbed. No leader with half a brain would publicly associate with Hancock, one of the most toxically authoritarian politicians of recent history. The man who took some glee in denying us of our God-given freedoms for over a year, who revelled in telling young people they were killing granny if they dared to leave the house, who clearly got off on the extraordinary, unusual and frankly despicable powers and controls he was given over the British public, and the same man who all along was breaking those rules himself by getting off with his publicly paid advisor behind his wife's back. Matt Hancock is not only a disgrace to politicians everywhere, he's a narcissistic delusionist. So it's really no wonder he's convinced himself entering ITV's D-list jungle on I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here is an altogether altruistic pursuit, all under the disgraceful idea that he will be vindicated in the jungle and embraced by the public despite having the Conservative parliamentary whip withdrawn. Now, I've only allowed Matt Hancock into this TV studio once. That was on the understanding that I could grill him on every aspect of his pandemic response for half an hour, including that devastating decision to release COVID-infected residents back into care homes, often without any testing. There was a testing capacity available. You chose not to use it on people being discharged into the care homes.
Well, it had to be clinically prioritised. And to clinically prioritise...
No, I know, but you just said the tests weren't available. Well, so I'm just making the point that they were available.
What I said was enough tests weren't available. Important difference.
Did care home operators warn your department right at the start of the pandemic not to discharge hospital patients into care homes without a test? Did they warn you of that?
We didn't have enough tests available to be able to do that without removing tests from other people for whom they were a life-saving matter.
But do you acknowledge you were warned of that?
I don't have recollection of that.
You told Andrew Marr last June you didn't put a protective ring around care homes during the first wave.
I used that phrase. I used that phrase later, to describe the work that we did to learn the lessons from the first phase, the first wave, which meant that actually, in terms of protecting...
But I've looked into that. I've looked into that, and it's just not true, Mr. Hancock, because you actually used the phrase multiple times at the start of the pandemic, well before.
There's two ways of answering this. The first is that the issue you were raising about people having to move out of hospital in order to be able to save lives in hospitals, right? That was in March 2020. Later, I used this phrase, throwing a protective ring, in May. So it's absolutely true, the chronology.
Lies. He was about as slippery as the snake he'll hopefully have all over his face in the jungle during that interview for my lockdown inquiry. But after weeks of research, it was clear to me he failed the public. Now the public have been failed again. The man is especially letting down every constituent in West Suffolk, who he will neglect for the 3 weeks chewing on kangaroo testicles down under while they suffer through an unprecedented cost of living crisis and God knows what else. Here's how they reacted today when my senior producer Ben Leo broke the news in his constituency.
Your MP Matt Hancock's off to the jungle. Do you support him in that, or should he be here sticking up for you guys?
I really justify the crisis this country's going through right at this moment, and he's sunning himself in Australia. Come on, Matt, get real.
Do you reckon Hancock should be forced to ingest kangaroo like he did vaccines on the Great British?
Kangaroo, yeah, that's what he needs, and a few creepy crawlies.
Yeah, I think he should resign.
You think he should resign as an
I think he
MP?
should resign as an MP and we should have a new MP.
Are you going to vote for him
He should be sacked.
as an MP? But you think this could be the making of him?
It could either make him or break him, yeah. I hope he shines.
Don't think that politics should be crossing over into the TV kind of side of things. It's already a big game as it is.
You mentioned his previous misdemeanours.
Yeah.
He got caught out by secret cameras, didn't he?
Yes.
Yet he's going into the jungle with lots of secret cameras. So you would have thought that.
Learned his lesson, but obviously not.
I hope he gets eaten by something, and it's painful.